we got going on today?
This is actually really exciting.
Yes, I love trivia. Weeb mode activated.
Oh, I love it.
Oh, God.
All right, Chef, so as you can see, we certainly changed up some things, and I think we should just get right into it. Please welcome today's guest judge, a Canadian, actor, and Top Chef superfan, Michael Cera.
Michael Cera. Superbad reminds me of the pursuit of girls and fake IDs and alcohol, and I think we're very similar.
Welcome to the Eat Your Content podcast. I'm always your host, Rich Herrera. Thanks for tuning into my little pod. As a reminder, just to follow me on socials at Rich Herrera, at Eat Your Content on all social channels, and make sure you like, follow, and subscribe anywhere you get your podcasts so you'll know when new Top Chef episodes drop. With me again this week, my co-host for the Top Chef Season 22 season here is Chef Savannah Miller. Chef Savannah, thank you so much again for joining me this week.
Absolutely. I'm really excited. I feel like this was maybe my favorite episode yet. So
yeah, it's been really, really great. This episode almost feels like a Top Chef episode. Like the first three. I was wondering when we're going to get out of the kitchen. Like when are we gonna go to an actual like Canadian location and start seeing the sights and seeing some of the touristy places that Top Chef is known for, right? Going to these locations and boosting the tourism visitors for the next few years based on it. And here we are in episode 4. I thought it was really, really good. First off, how was your week? I just want to touch base with you. How are things going?
it was good. It's been a lot of travel, a lot of different hats, I would say. But it's been good, a lot of juggling. And we just got back from Feast Wilmington that we were at last weekend, which was really cool. It's like a food festival here in North Carolina. It's only on its second year. So yeah, Justin and I got to go down there. I was actually helping out the North Carolina Food and Beverage podcast. So it was cool to see some of the chefs, and the festival is insane. Like, to be on its second year, it was really impressive. So that's what we did, and that was really fun. How was your week?
It was pretty good. It was pretty good. I didn't do much. I have a day job, so this podcasting thing isn't my full-time gig yet. But I'm having a lot of fun, and watching the series and everything. And I saw you in a couple of podcasts. So if this whole chef thing doesn't work out, might ought to consider podcasting. You do really great.
Oh, thank you. I'm grateful. I like talking, so it works out.
Fortunate for all of us.
Saves Justin some hairs from pulling out. So
he's like, you got it. You got an outlet now. Thank you.
100%. You're probably gonna get a flower arrangement.
Oh, nice. Let's jump right into it. Top Chef Season 22, Episode 4. We're finally seeing some of the sights of Canada, which I was really happy to see. Let's get right into the quick fire. So it was a trivia game, 15 questions to determine who was going to get some allotted cooking time. The winning team gets 30 minutes, second place gets 20 minutes, and the third place gets 15 minutes. How are you with trivia?
Oh, I mean, not great, but I will say this didn't seem like trivia to me. Like, no? I don't know. I mean, it was, but like some of the answers, I guess, I guess that's maybe I just don't watch a lot of trivia. To me, I thought, also I'm a chef, so I feel like these answers were like, they're catered towards, right? I don't know. Maybe I inherently think, no, trivia is something I don't know. I would have done decent at this. I just don't think I would have gotten to the button fast enough. So probably trivia bad. Maybe Top Chef trivia good. How are you?
Yeah, I love trivia. I have a horrible memory just in general. Like I tell my team, like I said, I have a day job. So I tell my team, I'm like, look, if you want me to remember something, you better follow that up with an email or a chat or something in writing, because I'm going to forget it the moment you walk out of the room. But for whatever reason, trivia, I get like these abstract things just stuck in my brain that just don't go anywhere. Me and my wife were watching Jeopardy, which is funny because they had Jeopardy guests on, the guest judge. Me and my wife were watching Jeopardy one night. I don't remember the answer, but it was something about a pirate ship. And I was just watching it, and I said, what is the Queen Anne's Revenge? And that was the question. That was the answer to the thing. And my wife turns to me and goes, how did you know that? I said, I don't know how I know that. It was just in there. Like, it was just in my brain. I read something somewhere about Queen Anne's Revenge, and it's
all the way back.
It just burrowed in there. So I'm pretty decent at trivia on trivia nights. So I mean, I thought this was a really fun episode the way they did it. I liked how they didn't like ask every single question. They kind of speed ran through it. But Massimo had an answer that I had to Google because it was so off the wall. The answer was, "These pretzels are really making me thirsty." And I'm like, what could possibly be the question for that? Turns out it was a Seinfeld episode.
Oh,
It's a quote from Seinfeld.
Justin, sorry. I mean, yeah, when we watched it, I remember being like, hold on, what? And he's like, no, it's a Seinfeld reference. And I was like, oh man, oh no. Like, it's one of those things. I know some of the references, right? But I am not, unfortunately, I haven't seen as much Seinfeld as I probably should have. So I was like, dang it.
Yeah, I haven't watched a single episode of Seinfeld, and everybody like crucifies me for that. You haven't watched Seinfeld? I'm like, it's not my type of comedy. I just couldn't get into it. So
my only recommendation, the episode that they showed me that killed me without having seen much else was look up My Wallet's Gone. Just watch that one.
My wallet's gone.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll have to check that one out. So guest judges for this quick fire was actor Michael Cera, and we had some Jeopardy champions on there, Amy Schneider and Mateo Roach. Mateo Roach being the most successful Canadian to ever play Jeopardy. I like Jeopardy. I watch it when I can. So it's a favorite TV kind of quiz show of mine. Do you have a favorite Michael Cera movie? You know, we have an actor on there. Do you have any movies come to mind that you like?
I mean, I think in general, I just like his awkwardness, like as a person. Like I like seeing him. I think I almost enjoy watching him interact as himself than I can seeing him play a character. But I mean, definitely Superbad. I don't know. I'm going to be classic. What about you? Are you a big Michael Cera fan?
I did like Scott Pilgrim versus the World because I'm kind of a comic book geek too. So watching that's a zany comic anyway. So to see it in live action come to life was really fun, and the visuals were really good and the special effects were really good. So that's probably my favorite Michael Cera. But you're right, Michael Cera kind of plays a version of himself in every movie because I'm watching him at judges table and he's like he acts like this in the movies. It's great.
I know. I told Justin, I was like, I don't know if I just think that like the show it's definitely a punny show, right? They like fun.
Yeah.
And I was like, is it because he's here that I feel like every time anyone talks, they're just like queuing somebody up? It's like, I don't even feel like these questions are related to the food half the time this episode. They were just like, bum.
Yeah.
And it was silly. So I liked him on this episode, but it was a surprise to me. I didn't know he was a big Top Chef super fan.
Yeah, I didn't either. And Amy Schneider was pretty interesting. She's like, "Oh, I've been watching Top Chef since it was Top Scallop back in season 5 or whatever." So so what you were saying last week about these judges, like, I'm just a big fan of the show and I want to be on the show, obviously rings true, especially with Amy Schneider kind of making that comment. I thought it was really good. So seeing Top Chef fans as judges, I think is really fun to watch because they're there to judge the food, but they're kind of a little bit awestruck at the things that they're surrounded by.
Would you love to do that?
Oh my gosh. I would. Yes, I would. I mean, without hesitation, if they said, let's get an unknown podcaster that nobody cares about to judge some food on the show, I will sign up right now.
If we're ever there at the same time, Rich, and you're the guest judge, remember me, okay?
That's right.
Remember, we go back.
Yeah, when you get on that All-Star season, I'll be the judge on that one for a quick fire. Absolutely.
Oh yeah. All right, here we go.
Here we go. So let's get in.
Now the episode.
And now the episode. What are we talking about? Oh yeah, we're talking about the episode. So let's talk about the trivia. They didn't show a lot of the questions, which was fine because it was still fun to watch. Green team was killing it. Answered the first 8 questions right off the bat. I think it's because of Corwin's speedy hands as a boxer, getting to that buzzer real quick. But they basically mathematically win first place, and then it's a battle for second. So purple team takes second place with 20 minutes, and yellow brings up the rear with 15 minutes. So the challenge actually is to use the ingredients in their trivia answers to make a dish, and they have to use at least 3, and it's an individual challenge. The poor yellow team only answered 3 questions, so they have battered rice sandwiches, which Amy was really hilarious to bring that to the forefront. Says, I'm really looking forward to 4 battered rice sandwiches. Yeah, like that's gotta be bad. Like if you're on the yellow team, how much are you just like, I'm just not even gonna try.
Well, I mean, it does suck. I feel like it also sucks because $10,000 is a lot.
Yeah.
And then to get to the point where it's like, dang, like we just weren't fast enough hitting the button, like maybe they knew the answers, but sometimes it's and I know Top Chef can be physical, but that's something that annoys me sometimes, that it's like, that wasn't really a testament to a cooking ability. I know it's just a fun, silly game, right? But when you do get stuck with battered rice and sandwich, like that might have tanked me,
Yeah.
So interesting. I have no idea what I would have done.
Yeah, I mean that you not only are you limited in time, but you're very limited in ingredients that on the surface don't go together like at all. So you have to get really creative. A lot of people were using like rice wine or rice vinegar, and all of them were making sandwiches, obviously. So we'll get to some of the dishes. But when you look at kind of how the time played out, like they showed Massimo, and I think this is the most serious I've seen Massimo. He had his game face on like as the time was ticking away because he was on the 20-minute team. Do you think it's sort of a silver lining of an advantage to get maybe like that 20-minute spot, because you have 10 minutes to kind of see what's going on and to think and strategize, whereas the 30-minute people, they're going right then. And then the 15-minute people, it's only 15 minutes. There's not a lot you can do in that time. But the 20-minute people, I think, had a little bit of an advantage. What do you think?
100%. All I know is that I probably wouldn't. I mean, if you give me 30 minutes, I'm not going to raise my hand and call a producer, but like,
sure.
I just mean like ideally 20, because that extra 10 minutes, I think more than anything, I think, is Corwin the one that said this? Like, no, maybe it was somebody else. Like, oh, if I have 30 minutes, like it's more pressure, or somebody made a comment like that. Where I think it does, if somebody with 15 minutes sweeps you, come on, man. It could happen on any day, but you don't want it to. So I think I would prefer to have the 20. And also, like, they had a decent amount of stuff that they could work with. You weren't tied into only 3 things, but you also didn't have this like big range of stuff to choose from.
Yeah. That's exactly what I was thinking too. So let's get into some of the dishes based on some of these times. So Shuai, I thought was kind of interesting. He had a nectarine salad with Napa cabbage. And you don't get a lot from the judges, right? They're just there. They're eating the food almost expressionless. They don't want to kind of give hints as to what they're thinking. But Matea always asked this like dagger of a question that I always find just stabs you in the heart. Are you happy with that turned out? Because you don't know where they're going with that. Like, oh, are you happy with this turned out because it's awful? Or are you happy with this turned out because it's great? So how do you, like, when you're the chef, how do you respond to a question like that? Now, in Shuai's case, turned out to be pretty good. They liked it. But is there like a flash moment in your brain where you're like, oh God, did I make a wrong decision here?
Oh, for sure. I mean, it's just creating doubt, right? But I think that also it's not just in like Top Chef, but like in life. Like, I don't know, you lead a team, right? Like, I'm sure you have some tactics up your sleeve, and not even like in a malicious way, but like, there's a power dynamic at play when people are asking that, and they're allowed to do that. They're the judge, right? So I think the best case scenario and what I would try to do, not what I have always done, but what I would try to do on my best day, is just be the most honest. Like, in a way that is not self-deprecating, because you don't want to seal your fate yet. So I try to be like a positive spin on all aspects of the truth. Is how I would put it.
Yeah, I mean, are you happy with that? I mean, yeah, it turned out, it tasted good to me. So, I mean,
maybe it could have been a little different here, but I'm actually pleasantly surprised by X.
Yeah. It's that question always is like, oh man, how should I answer that? Do they think it's bad? Do they think it's so? It's always interesting to see how people answer that question. Corwin's looked great. He had a seared scallop with chili crisp and gingerbread blanc, shrimp paste, yuzu, and shiso. I think that was probably my favorite looking dish of the night. And how trendy is chili crisp right now? Like it's everywhere, isn't it?
It really is. I feel like variations, right? Same thing, different names. It's all over the place.
Yeah. What's your view on like food trends, like on Instagram and TikTok and things like that? And how much is it like, oh, this is awful. I can't believe that we're like promoting this thing, or you're like, hey, finally an ingredient that should be getting its time to shine.
Oh, I mean, I think that I never look at like a food trend as like, oh, I'm glad this thing has its time to shine. Because if I'm being honest, like, I almost think of food trends as 2 different things. Like, I follow food trends specifically in like the restaurant industry, right? where that might be a little bit more heartfelt and like, oh, I'm glad this is like happening. Or if we're talking about like, oh, TikTok, like I saw a butterboard, it's like
Yeah.
the other end of the spectrum is like, oh, like people have been doing, like restaurants have been doing composed butter courses for years, right? So like that's not with me being like, oh yay, butterboard, but I think it's fun. I'm also someone who like likes to host parties at my house, and I like to do cute shit. So it's like I can appreciate it for what it is, but it's definitely like a different level of a trend I pay attention to and care about. Where it's like in the restaurant industry, it's like, oh, like you actually are tracking like what's the best restaurant, like what's their menu look like right now, like what techniques are they doing, because what is it? They say imitation is the sincerest form of flattery.
Yeah.
There
Yeah.
we go. Got it.
Yeah.
So yeah, things like that.
I think some of the food trends that kind of make me cringy is like somebody just quote unquote discovers something and you're kind of watching. It's like, no, there's been a culture that's been doing this for centuries. You just figured this out. Like I can't remember who the influencer was, but they did this like cucumber salad thing and it just completely blew up. And people, huh? Yeah, yeah. And I think it was like an Asian cucumber salad that he's like, oh, I discovered. No, you didn't discover anything, dude. This has been going on for a while. And that kind of irks me a little bit with food trends. So I think it has its good and its bad. Like I like that some food trends put some lesser known dishes out into the mainstream, but sometimes I hate how it's kind of, I don't know, lack for a better word, colonized. Is that the way to say it?
I think that's a good way to say it. And like, I mean, it's one of those things where it's almost a little silly, like, oh, you think that's really good, right? Isn't that crazy? Like, it's pretty good, So I think I try to look at the positive of, I do not disagree with you at all. But then I'm like, man, think about all these like little kids watching that. They're going to be like, Mom, like, let's make a cucumber salad. And then hopefully maybe somewhere down the line, someone will be like, by the way, that guy with 2 million followers actually like didn't come up with that, and maybe they'll learn. But I like the idea of like the meeting people where they're at.
Yeah, that's true. So let's talk about one dish that really kind of stood out to me because of, again, the yellow team having a lack of ingredients and lack of time, is Kat's fried peanut butter and Nutella sandwich. I mean, she took what is a favorite among children, right, and some adults, and deep fried it county fair style and made this really nice looking, probably good tasting, like kind of raspberry sauce to go with it. So what did you think of Kat doing that in like 15 minutes or less? Was it a smart idea? Or, I mean, obviously she was in the top, but when you saw this kind of forming versus some of the other 15-minute folks, what were you thinking?
This is where the editing got me. Which I hate to fall victim to, but I feel like the second that, her interview confessional was like, I have 15 minutes, I'm going to make something really tasty, and I'm not, it's not fine dining. I was like, oh, clutching my pearls, like, oh no, but that wasn't the case. And, they definitely, then looking back, you can see that they probably put that clip in there because she's like, pretty confident about just making delicious food, and it worked out. So I thought at first I was worried, and then I wasn't. But even if I hadn't seen that clip, I think I would have probably been like, what else are you going to do?
Yeah. I mean, you only got 15 minutes. What else are you going to do?
Yeah.
So, but it was this like cute little dainty, deep fried, delicious sandwich that kids have had as snacks for generations. And I thought it was genius. Henry, on the other hand, I think had a bread filling ratio issue with his sandwich, and the judges had a real hard time eating that. It was kind of funny to watch it all kind of fall apart on the plate when the judges were eating it. Massimo took his evaluation on being the bottom personally. Like he was not funny. He was like really upset. What did you think about that?
To be honest, I feel like my first thought was whenever I saw him say like, I tried the other dishes, like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
And I was kind of like, oh my gosh, is that like Jeopardy guest judge like gonna be sitting this like on their couch, like, I've never been more excited to be on Top Chef, I can't wait, family, let's watch, and then they sit down and it's like, oh man, like he did not like me, or that was aggressive. But yeah, I don't know, it's like not a big deal. It's kind of like, I don't know. I don't like it.
You kind of, this is what you signed up for, right? I mean, this is what you literally signed up for. But
and I'm kind of like, why are you I mean, sometimes you taste people's food I mean, sometimes it just happens. Like, I would say by the 4th or 5th episode, we started walking around and being like, "Do you want to try? Do you want to try?"
Yeah.
Because you have more time, you get more comfy, and you're less worried about getting screamed at, or like not screamed at, but I just mean like in trouble with production, you know. So I wasn't surprised by the fact that he had tasted people's food, but it's kind of like a weird thing to just throw in there. It's kind of like where you feel like you're gonna get hit by the bus, so you just throw everybody else under it, and it's like, whoa, 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 putting the knives away.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, can you imagine being, like what you're saying, the judge is watching this back, and that judge is going to be the one that made Massimo angry instead of being happy and and funny all the time. You got him all serious. It was pretty funny, but I was like, ooh, Massimo, dang, calm down, dude. Calm down. It's going to be okay. It's okay. It's just a quick fire. You're not getting eliminated. But Corwin wins the Quickfire and 10K. I think his dish looked really, really good. The seared scallop with the chili crisp. That's one I would definitely want to try. Kat was really kind of a close second. I think I don't know in the judge's mind, do you think that plays a factor? Like if you only had 15 minutes and came up with that, should that be held at a different kind of judging level than Corwin's 30-minute scallop dish? Like he had more time, more ingredients, but Kat was still able to pull something out in 15 with 3 ingredients. Like how would you judge that if you were a judge, knowing what you know?
I think this is how I think they do it. Obviously, I can't, know for sure. And this is how I would do it: is if the dish that tastes the best is so clearly the winner, then we're done talking. Like it doesn't matter across the board. If there's something that really clearly stands out, that wins. And then after that, if you have 2 things that were kind of going head to head, then I would start bringing in the other details of the challenge.
So basically just judge the plate that's set before you.
Yeah, and if you really have to dig into it and you have to start being like, I literally cannot decide. I think they're both beautiful and delicious and smart. Now I'm just going to think about the fact that one of them did it in 15 minutes instead of 20.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, you kind of think if all things being equal, the person that had 15 minutes put up a better plate because of the restrictions. Like imagine if they had the extra 15 minutes. So yeah, it's a good thing to point out. But yeah, I think you just judge the plate that's in front of you, right? Without thinking about the time constraints or the ingredient constraints. Did you put up a good plate of food? Period. Yeah, it's good thought process. Yeah. So Elimination Challenge. So the Elimination Challenge is pretty interesting and very Top Chef-y, as Paula said. Deconstruct an iconic Canadian sweet treat, turn it into a savory dish. So Paula said it's a very signature Top Chef type challenge. Couldn't agree more. I think this is a signature Top Chef challenge. What were your thoughts given the desserts, which I haven't heard of, obviously being from America? Some of these are clearly Canadian. What did you think of this particular challenge of turning sweet into savory?
I would have loved to do this. I think most chefs would, not because it's easy, but just because it is pretty straightforward. Again, like it's not very cerebral, right? Like they're literally telling you what you need to do. But then you have the leeway to you see people interpreting eggs different ways, and you see people you get to play in this realm, but at the end of the day, like what they're asking of you is quite straightforward. And then I also think that whether you have pastry experience or not, it doesn't really matter because you're making a savory dish, right? So in the end, you're taking this sweet thing. I think it's cool to incorporate both sides, of someone's skill set. I just think that this is a quintessential Top Chef challenge that would have been just really fun. And I don't think there were any bad options.
Yeah. What is kind of the biggest hurdle when on its surface, when you hear the challenge and you see the desserts presented in front of you? What's the kind of the biggest hurdle the chefs have to overcome in making something sweet into savory?
I don't know. I guess if you are going to make a savory course, I think my mind does immediately go to what is the star of the plate, right? Not like it has to be a protein, but I'll say protein just to make it easy here. What's my protein, or what's my scallop, my whatever. And I just think that if you can't really put yourself outside of the box, or if you kind of get stuck in this okay, like my dessert has these 3 flavor profiles, bam, bam, bam. That's what I'm sticking with. And like, I really need to use those ingredients and I need to put them on this dish. I think it's really easy to kind of box yourself in here. And I think the way to like perceive this challenge is to completely pull yourself out of it. So like, take those things at base value and then pull it back. What other dishes are they in? What have, like, you know, kind of work backwards. And I think that if you don't immediately realize that, sometimes in the Top Chef kitchen, like if you get stuck on an idea and you just kind of get that tunnel vision and it's hard to turn around, I think for me, the hardest thing would just to be to like pause and really like make sure I'm giving myself a full scope of options.
Yeah.
Right from the beginning.
Tunnel vision is interesting that you bring that up, because I was thinking the exact same thing. If there's a challenge where you can get trapped in tunnel vision, it's this one. Like you think of the dessert as a whole, and you're like, oh, I got to make it taste like dates, right? It has to taste like this dessert, and then you just kind of get that tunnel vision, and you can't pivot. So I think you're right. I think you have to look at these desserts and the components and what makes these desserts what they are, right? What is the main, like you were saying, the star kind of ingredient in the figgy duff, and do something with that. So let's break down who got what. So the figgy duff was chosen, or not chosen, but randomly chosen by knife draw from Corwin and Tristan. I like what Tristan said. He said it looks like a panettone that had a rough life. That was hilarious. We have butter tarts for Zubair and Henry, Nanaimo bars from Paula and Kat, and then jams, which look like a Linzer cookie from Shuai and Katiana, and potato chocolate cake for Lana and Vinny. Potato chocolate cake looked really interesting because I like potato rolls, like Martin's potato rolls. No free ads, but Martin's potato rolls are like my favorite thing. So if it's anything like that, I'm all in for a nice potato chocolate cake. That sounds delicious. And then date squares from Massimo and Caesar, which I thought had a fun story. Matrimony bars, which was fun.
It was so cute.
Yeah, such a cute little story. A solid foundation, a sweet center, and just like marriage is a little bit rocky. I was like, oh, how sweet.
Yeah.
How sweet. So which dessert would you have picked, and which one is, in your opinion, the toughest to try to convert?
I would have definitely wanted potato chocolate cake. And and I would not have wanted rough life panettone.
Rough life I'm not a fan of panettone in general, so a panettone from the wrong side of the tracks would not have been appetizing for me.
I thought all panettone had a rough life. Yeah, I already thought that.
Yeah, panettones in general is like, it's funny, like my grandma like gifts panettone every year for Christmas, and I swear it's like the same panettone that gets cycled around the family every year and just never opens the box.
It's a re-gift.
It's re-gifted. It's like worse than fruitcake. It's funny.
So funny. You need to mark the box.
Yeah, a little chalk mark on the bottom. Hey, you get to me last year. So off to shopping we go, and we're not at Whole Foods, which I thought was great. They are back at the what was the Saint something farmers market? I can't remember. I didn't write it down. I'm sorry. But they went to a really cool like looking farmers market. And one thing that I love about Top Chef is when they go to these local markets and specialty stores, I always put them down on my list as a place I want to go visit. Like in your season, never would I have thought I'd ever want to step foot in Wisconsin until you guys went to the Dane County Farmers Market. And I was like, that looks great. So I'm writing that down on my list. If I'm ever up in that region of the country, I'm definitely going to Dane County's farmers market. So what did you think of the local market here on this episode? It looked really cool. Looks huge.
Yeah. Huge. Tons of stuff. I mean, like the meat selections, and I think it reminds me of the Dane County farmers market in a sense that it just had a ton of stuff, but that was more of like a producer, like the largest producer only farmers market in the country, right? So watching this, it did bring me back to the public market. Is that what it was called? I think in Milwaukee that we shopped at a lot. So it kind of reminded me of that, like an upscale, tons of options, some place that you would hang out, but running through those places can be difficult because it's a bunch of vendor stalls. And so I just remember it being kind of silly because we were like, there's people shopping and you're like, excuse me, I'm so sorry. I need you right now. And I mean, it's kind of funny.
Yeah. And, you know, I guess the challenge in that too is there's no like sections. There's not like a produce section or a meat section. They're all everywhere. So it's like you see a good looking protein here, be like, oh, there could be something better over there. But do you want to take the chance and not get it?
Yeah.
And yeah, if you're just a regular shopper, like talk about Whole Foods, like you just stole all the duck from me. I was going to have duck tonight for dinner, but you took it all. Dang it.
I know. It's kind of silly. And then, you know, sometimes like in our season, I will say we had extra time at the end. So we used our cash and we went and got oysters and beer.
Oh, cool.
So it's like on the plus side, maybe they had a treat at the end. Who knows?
Yeah,
they got to go out in public.
Yeah.
So it's exciting.
They got to go out in public. They're not holed up in the Top Chef kitchen or the hotel all day, right? So one interesting thing that I saw in Henry's confessional, I think it was right after that shopping scene, was he decided to go on Top Chef because his partner, Evelyn Garcia, competed on season 19, which was a great season too. And then he said something that boggled my mind. He said, yeah, I thought Top Chef would be easier. I'm like, sir, have you not watched Top Chef? And working so closely with a partner, I'm sure you heard stories. Like, how could you think it would be easier?
Maybe it's because Evelyn's a boss. And so he's just like, you know, maybe he was like, she did great. I don't know. But
if she could do it, I could do it now.
I don't know. You know, when he said that, I was also a little surprised. But I think what I like to believe that he meant is I didn't realize the type of stressors that would be taking up so much of my brain space. That's what I hope that he meant. Like, I thought it would be easier. Like, I didn't realize I would be X, Y, and Z. I thought it would be taxed. Like, I thought I'd be running. I thought I'd be burning myself. I thought I'd be cooking, you know, but I didn't realize it's a big emotional, it's a big taxing thing. And then Evelyn kind of talks about that, which makes me wonder if like that was the direction it was going in. But yeah, I think that I assumed it would be mental warfare. So I don't really know. I definitely thought it would be a tough experience.
Yeah, I was gonna say, because I'm sure when you went in, we talked when I interviewed you the first time. You had kind of like this war room in your hotel room, like you're writing on the mirror, and so I think you went in kind of knowing exactly what to expect. And I guess with Henry, yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe it's the mental piece of it. I think the cooking piece, I don't know though, because he was on bottom this week, so I don't know what he meant. But for him to say like, oh, I thought it'd be easier, I'm kind of like, in what aspect did you think this was going to be easier? Like, it can't be the physical part, because I'm sure you never cooked like that on a line ever. In terms of,
I get that.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's about perspective. We had a lot of people, you know, it's just some people come to it different ways, and some people are really like thrown off by being taken out of their home environments. Like my dad is retired Special Forces Green Beret, and so well, yeah, and like and he is like a pretty tough guy, right? And like more than with anybody with me, and I'm his like only biological daughter. I have a half sister that he helped raise, but like, you know, I've gotten the brunt of that my whole life, and I feel like when I was going to Top Chef, he helped me get in the right mindset, because I was sobbing. I was like, I'm so scared. Oh my God. And he's like, listen up, soldier. You know what I mean?
Wow.
It was like, grab you by your bootstraps type of thing. And like, so it's interesting. I feel like I came into it with that perspective, but had maybe I not had that pep talk, I don't know. I might have been like, oh my, I don't know, like just surprised by how rough it really was, even though I was scared to begin with, like, cause it is a lot.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Yeah. Well, you know, everybody has a different perspective coming into a competition, right? So, another interesting confessional. I loved seeing Kat's like confessional about her just amazing life, right? She was an actor, performer, go-go dancer, burlesque performer. I'm like, you're just a Renaissance woman. You're amazing. What did you think of seeing Kat's glimpse into her background?
I love it. I think Kat does have a really fun life. I think they're smart to be like, Kat, do you have any more photos of the cool shit that you've done? Can you give us you at this event? Do you have another pic with another celebrity? She's probably got like a big folder.
Yeah. It was just really neat to see, like, oh my gosh, and then taking on now being a chef on Top Chef, just to put the little. And she's killing it, right? I mean, she probably came into cooking late in life based on her amazing adventures that she's had. So it's not like she was cooking since I don't know, maybe she was cooking at 16, but came to being a professional chef kind of late in life. But she's killing it, just like she's killed everything else in her life. So it was just amazing to see. It was awesome. I want to talk about Tristan's lamb fat madeleines for a second, because
Yeah.
I thought that was just a genius move. It kind of reminded me of like duck fat cornbread a little bit.
Yeah.
Just an amazing take on his interpretation of his dessert. What did you think of that as he was kind of putting this together?
I like the way his brain works.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
What he does is smart and it's creative, and he does think outside of the box. And he's probably doing that because, you know, he can pull from experience, but like he seems like he's cooking in the moment, and that's what people want to watch.
Yeah. I mean, you're cooking it in a Madeline shape, so it looks like a cookie, tastes like a savory bread. I mean, it's just this play on your senses, kind of like that shattered deviled egg thing he did last week. I just think he's operating at a different level right now. So my eyes are on him to continue to move up in the competition, because if he keeps thinking like that on the fly, it's going to be really interesting to see how far he can go. So we talked about the cooking location. Casa Loma looks incredible, just this brilliant looking castle out in Canada. But you have another challenge in cooking. Okay, sure, you're already cooking in a Top Chef kitchen that you're not quite familiar with, but you're 3 episodes in, you've cooked in it 3 times, you're getting familiar with it. And then you go on location and you have a whole nother set of kitchen equipment that you have to get used to. Was that a challenge, especially like for you guys that cooked outdoors on the fish boil, even though, I mean, really the only thing you had was the pot of water. You just kind of threw everything in it. But cooking out somewhat outdoors with outdoor stoves and cooking equipment and things like that, that's a whole other challenge you have to kind of get over, right?
Oh, for sure. I mean, things go wrong in a normal kitchen, right? So you immediately, and the team is talented. It's just like, I mean, I don't have a ton of experience to pull from, but like what I saw them put on this favorite production, like the culinary team crushes it, right? But life is life, and like things happen, Mother Nature, right? And even I can name a few instances where it's like, oh, service is starting, the gas is out, and it's like, oh no, it's just because someone needs to change the tank really quick, you know, but we're not like, they're not really used to that. We might have 1 or 2 of these cooks in a season. So it definitely introduces a lot, and it introduces a smaller kitchen with less stuff. They can't travel with that much stuff. So, I mean, and those people know that going into it. So it is interesting to how much they will use that knowledge ahead of time and use that to make decisions for them to remove risk versus what they're willing to leave up to like what's happening in the moment and see what goes, you know?
Yeah, it's always fun to watch the chefs cook in unfamiliar environments and trying to adapt and overcome. Like with your fish boil, it was kind of windy. You're getting like sand in your food and stuff like that. So it's just interesting to see how you guys pivot and overcome and work through it. So it's fun to watch those challenges. So let's talk through the courses a little bit. So up first, we had Kat and Paula. They had the Nanaimo bars, apparently sickly sweet, crazy sweet. So you're having to tone that down. So Kat did this coconut mustard custard, which is fun to say, and a duck skin crumble. Started things off strong. Paula's pork dish, not as strong in comparison. You know, what did you think of this very first course here?
I loved it. I liked the moment of Tom being like, why'd you remove the skin? You know?
Yeah.
And at first he looked annoyed, and you know, and then she's like, well, actually, chef. And so I loved that for her, because I'm telling you, that feels good. That little moment she had, she's gonna remember that. And yeah, it was delicious. I feel like mustard custard, Kat seems like, again, just someone I would like to cook with and like be in a kitchen with, because I feel like that's like, sounds like me and like my friends at work, you know, we're like, oh man, maybe we'll do this. Oh, let's like throw this in there. Oh my God, we should call it mustard custard. Like, it's just like a silly, fun thing. You know, I feel like I could vibe with Kat.
And it kind of matches her personality, right? Especially after hearing her confessional of all amazing things that she's done in her life. To do a mustard custard seems just kind of right in her personality.
Silly girl. Yeah, I like it.
Yeah. So we had a potato chocolate cake course up next. So Vinny with the paintbrush and the gold dust, because Vinny's gonna Vinny, as an homage to Michael Cera's movie Superbad. Again, Vinny's one of those things, like he did the souffle for Daniel Boulud, and now he sees Michael Cera's like, oh, how can I make myself memorable to the guest judge, right? So he does the gold dust with the paintbrush. So he knows how to tell a story. He knows how to make an impression. I will give him that. And then Lana's dish, poor Lana. Somebody said after a few bites, I got tired of it. Oh, you hate to hear it. So overall thoughts on the potato chocolate cake course?
I don't know. I guess I feel like I maybe like inherently thought I would go in a completely different direction than both of these. So it was a nice surprise, but no, I mean, I kind of forgot the most about this, I would say, like these two.
Yeah.
Which, yeah.
Just kind of like, they're fine. I mean, the only thing memorable was Vinny doing the super bad homage and the gold dust. And because I saw a finger dip into the gold dust with a paintbrush. I didn't know whose hand it was until the end, but I was like, that's got to be Vinny, right? Because he's the only one I know of that would. It's either be Henry or Vinny, or could have been Henry. But I was like, no, that's got to be Vinny. So the date square course was Caesar and Massimo, and it was the battle of the tartars. So they both ended up having a tartar, and it's inevitable. You can't go through this competition and two chefs end up cooking almost the exact same dish. So obviously you have to concentrate on your own dish, but it's hard not to peek over your shoulder at what the other guy's doing, right? So how do you manage that? Like if you're on the show and you notice somebody's cooking literally almost the exact same dish, how do you keep focused on what you're doing but trying to be better than what they're doing? Because they're going to be compared to each other, especially if they're in the same course.
I mean, definitely like turn their burners up all the way, maybe turn the oven off when they're not looking. I'd probably steal one of their sauces. No. I think in reality
that's like season 1 and 2 of Top Chef. That's the early days of Top Chef.
What I would have given to be there for that. I don't know. I mean, that's hard. I think the biggest thing is like, do not even just let it get in your head. Like I think I would try to just the second I knew that, we're done. I don't even want to work next to you. I'm gonna go over here because I can play that game of like getting myself all worked up over nothing. So I think I would have just tried to ignore it. But if I couldn't avoid that, I think I don't know. It sounds like such a stupid answer, but like just focus on yourself. You know what I mean? Like literally the only thing that you can control is how good your dish is. If you are sitting there watching, you're sitting there like trying to pay attention to what they're doing. It's just energy and time that's taken out of your bag, So I really would have tried to zero in.
Yeah. So because if you start comparing to what they're doing, like if you saw Vinny sprinkling gold dust on his dish and you're like, oh my God, I got to do something like that. I got to, because then you start getting into your head and then again, the tunnel vision, and you can't pivot. So it sounded like Caesar kind of won that round with his tartar. It was the only dish out of the bunch, I think, to incorporate a little bit of sweetness to call back to the dessert. So I thought that was pretty interesting, especially in a tartar course. So Figgy Duff, which I thought was probably the hardest dessert to have to convert, was Corwin and Tristan, and they both killed it. They really spun that dessert to make it their own in a way that made sense, and a 10 out of 10 for both of them from the judges. I don't think they had notes for either one of them, but they really understood the assignment of what makes the Figgy Duff a Figgy Duff, and then just amping that flavor up to 100. So I thought it was really good. What are your thoughts there?
Fantastic. I mean, these two are really impressive to me. And what I also like seeing is like, you can just see, and I hate to like pull back the curtain too much, but like you can just see their faces in a lot of their interviews this episode. And I try not to focus on it too much, right? But like, what I like to do is when the episode's over to go back and just kind of when I rewatch it, there's a sparkle in their eyes. And so what I'm loving right now is just like seeing that confidence, because it's dangerous. And I think that they both have it. I don't know. I like it.
Yeah. I mean, once you do have that confidence and once you dial in, I think, to what the judges want, especially the main three, then you start going on a run, similar to what you did in the back half of your season. Like you started getting some feedback, and then you started turning it up, and then all of a sudden, Savannah out of nowhere,
Thanks, Rich. I appreciate it.
Well, you know what I mean. Like, well, okay, editing. It was editing, right? I mean, the back half of the season is where you really shine, and this is you get that confidence in, and you start dialing it in. And you're making perfect food. And I think this is a perfect example of that, of Corwin and Tristan through the first 3 episodes, kind of finding who they are and cooking the type of food they cook within the parameters of Top Chef and the challenges of Top Chef, and not going, I don't want to say too far outside of themselves, but cooking what you know is really the best strategy to go into Top Chef, right? You cook what you know within the parameters, and then just dial it in. Yeah, you put yourself on the plate.
I don't disagree with you at all. Like, I think that's why I can appreciate their facial expressions. It's because like I'm looking at, I feel like I'm like, that is a good spot to be in. It's a really comfy not comfy, but it's a really good pocket. Like enjoy that feeling.
Get in the zone. You get in the zone, right? Yeah. So the next course is the Jam Jam course, and I don't think either one nailed it. I mean, there was a lot of negative comments on that one. Schweiz in particular was overly acidic. He knew that before he even served. He's like, "Ooh, that's tart." I mean, he coughed. Like he tasted it and coughed. Like that's At some point, you're like, "Well, it's too late to change it. This is what I got to do." But I think he was trying to emulate maybe the tartness of the raspberry. Just went way, way too far. So neither dish really nailed it there. The butter tart course was next. Henry misses a sauce on one of his plates. That's not great. Time management still an issue. The duck, though. Let's talk about these ducks. 1 under, 1 over. I thought sous videing initially was a smart idea because you get your duck at a precise temperature from end to end. His downfall was he didn't render the fat. So it was still rubbery, and you got to do that with duck. So Zubair's was just way over, hard to eat. And I like what Michael Cera said. I didn't want to argue with my knife about the duck.
I know.
That
was another throw to Michael Cera for a joke.
I know. They even said, I saw you trying to go for a second bite and then stopped. And then he's like, yeah, I'm just not going to argue with my knife, which I'm going to use that line the next time I'm writing a review of something on Yelp. I'm going to be like,
oh my gosh. And you can't cut
and I can't cut through it. I didn't want to argue with my knife. Great line. And then Gail said it was impossible to chew. So let's talk about the different strategies here. So sous vide. Yeah. I love sous vide. I have a sous vide machine at my house. It makes me a much better cook than I have any right to be. But I know at the end you still have to brown it. You still have to render fat. There's still some finishing things you have to do. Was that a good call for him to do, or should he just a traditional pan roast?
I'm going to give a shout out to an interview with Brooke Williamson I watched. And she was talking about the season that she went home and what she got sent home for or whatever was she sous vide a pork loin. And Tom was like, why did you do that? And he's like, cook, you know how to cook. Like, just, you can nail it. Why did you do that? And so she's like, you're right. Like, that was stupid. That's what this reminded me of. And again, like the limited access to, I know he's saying like, oh, there is a sous vide open, right? Like it's limited access of the kitchen, whatever it is, right? I just don't know. I personally probably would never put duck in a sous vide bag. Not saying that you cannot do it. I don't cook a lot of duck, right? So for me, it's like, if I'm cooking duck, I'm cooking it. Like, we're going to do it like cold pan, start to finish, like render the fat off. I also just don't think that, duck is something you don't want to leave it in there that long. So it's like, you're never going to render that fat off, and then you throw it in the pan. And I feel like he knew that, but I'm pretty sure he knew that when he did it. And he even said it's risky. And I think that he thought like, it'll be okay and I'll figure it out, and I mean that in a heartfelt way. Like, sometimes that's just the decision you have to make. Like, I will figure that out when I get there. And unfortunately it didn't work out, but I don't know if I would have put duck in a sous vide. I probably wouldn't have picked duck up to begin with, but that's just me personally.
I mean, duck's so finicky, right? I mean, it's a fine line between perfect and not perfect with duck.
And you're cooking for what, 8 people at the table? How many people were at the table? 8?
Yeah, I think it was 8. Yeah.
I mean, to me, no one ever said, unless they say it in the fine print. Sometimes these dishes are big to me. Like, and I don't just mean this season. I mean, watching anybody ever on a cooking competition, I'm like, why would you not small? They're going to take 2 bites max. Like, I'd go small, 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 small. And so with that duck, why you could pan sear 3, and give them a few slices or etc. So I just think, is it an induction burner problem, or did you just not have like 2 and you really wanted 2 because you're doing this? I don't know.
Yeah, portion control is not something I've ever thought about on Top Chef in terms of being a strategy. So you make a good point. You have 8 people there. You can cook 2, maybe 3 duck breasts perfectly in that amount of time, and then serve them in slices on top of whatever garnishments and accoutrements you're going to go with. Did he served a whole breast for each one, right? If I'm thinking back, I don't remember. But
I don't know. I know it looked like a lot.
It looked like a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. Just in general, it's like, and we're talking about Anya with the fish being undercooked, and it's like, why are you serving Tom a 10-ounce piece of fish? It's like, I don't know.
So future Top Chef contestants, portion control. Put that in your bag of tricks. Learn what's enough. Tiny. Right? Tiny. And yeah, when you're eating 13 dishes, they're not going to eat the whole thing, obviously. Just
food cost, baby. That's what we say. Food cost, baby.
That's a food cost. Think about your own restaurant. Yeah. So that was tough. That was tough to watch on both things. That's rule number, I think, 3 for Top Chef, right? 1 is don't cook risotto. 2 is don't cook something for the first time. And 3, get your proteins right. And
unless it's mustard custard.
Unless it's mustard custard. Right?
Yes.
But yeah, you got to get your proteins right. Got to get them. So let's talk about the judges table. So top of the judges table, you had Kristen, Corwin, and Kat. Winner was Tristan. I think for me, I think it was a lamb fat medallion. A lot of people had comments on that one. Very creative and tasty on top of that. And then I want to mention Corwin because he really embraced the challenge. Kristen said he spun it smartly to incorporate who he is as a chef within the parameters of the challenge. Personally, I thought it was a coin flip. I think either one of them, and to do fried chicken, right? And even Corwin kind of downplayed it. It was like, oh yeah, it's low country food. It's not like considered fine dining, but I'm going to make it taste great. And I'm sure everybody thought it looked delicious and tasted delicious. So to me, I think it was really a coin flip between Corwin and Kristen winning that one. What did you think?
I thought it was a big piece of fried chicken. Honestly, I was like, it's huge.
You could have cooked 2 breasts and cut it into slices now.
No, I did think that, but again, doesn't matter, obviously, right? In that case, they're probably like, yes, more. Can I have a to-go box? But yeah, I mean, I do. I think it's one of those things where it's totally different approaches, which sometimes it can get hard to judge a show like this. Mm-hmm. Right? Like when you take people's backgrounds and whatever, the whole point is who are you today, right now? But whenever it comes down to like, at the end of the day, it's about flavor and then a lasting impression on the judges and like however you do that, right? And it's interesting because I think it's really hard to know what the answer will be, like who will win, because we're not there and we can never taste it. That's honestly what I feel like watching it now. I'm like, man, it's really interesting. Like, I wish I could taste this food.
I know, right? I mean, I see those plates. I'm like, I just want a bite. Can I just have a bite?
There's enough to share.
Good. There's enough to share, right? I mean, Henry cooked 15 duck breasts. There's enough to share for everybody. But bottom of the judges table, we had Shuai, Zubair, and Henry. I don't think it's any surprise of these 3. The sous vide choice obviously didn't pay off. And then Shuai just had mushy meatballs, as they said. I really thought it would have been the acid that got him, but it was the mushy meatballs. But on top of all that, it was acidic as well. But Zubair is headed to Last Chance Kitchen for his overcooked duck. So again, breaking rule number 3, get your proteins right. Right choice. I mean, I kind of like the coin flip with the winner. Really could have been a coin flip for the loser too. The one packing their knives and going. It could have been any one of those 3.
It could have been any one of them. I will say, like, when they were calling people, I went to like refill my water and I came back and I just had a moment of being like, seeing like the 3 of them standing there. And I was like, oh no, like, how did we get here? I'm really starting to get attached to all of these chefs. But like, I also think one thing I'll say is I feel like I said like, oh man, they're saying the cooking is so great this season. Like, we're seeing a lot of mistakes. I think I'm seeing it now. And for me, the reframing of that comment is more about like, we have people at the top, different people all the time. Like, I really think it's a widely diverse, widely talented cast. So to see anybody in the bottom, but especially these 3, I understood why, but it hurt.
Yeah. Yeah, especially for Zubair too, who ended up getting eliminated. He's heading to LCK. I mean, he was on a high for a minute, and then the drop was so far with his duck. You just never know what the day's going to bring. Like we talked about Tristan and Corwin, like finding their groove, and if they continue to cook that way, but you never know what a challenge is going to bring, and then you can easily find yourself on the bottom the very next day. So yeah, I hated seeing Zubair because I like that guy. I think he's a great cook. But he just couldn't get it together in this particular episode. So we go, I mean, literally immediately right into LCK. I mean, so
Yeah.
Tom kicks everybody out. Get out. This is my kitchen now. And we have an LCK twist. It starts immediately. And then the winner of this LCK goes back to the competition the next day, or in our case, the next episode. I can't remember last season. How soon did somebody come in your season episode? When did the first one come back?
The first people were Kalina and Sue.
In what episode? I can't remember.
I swear, I think that we did Restaurant Wars, the very next episode?
Yeah.
So it would have been if we had 9 people then. So, we would have had Kalina and them come back when we were down to like 8. No, when we were down to like 7.
Because I feel like this is really soon. It feels soon, right? Okay.
It is soon. So it's soon. I think that we would have normally had someone like 5 or 6 episodes in, and then they bring them back right again before the finale. So this being the 5th episode is next week. I mean, it's like maybe an episode or 2 soon.
Yeah. Because I was thinking, they're going back early, which I think is good. To come back early and really make it a challenge. So. LCK starts at Zubair versus Bailey. On paper, as I was kind of comparing CVs, it feels a bit of David versus Goliath, right? Because Zubair kind of has all of this like accolades. He even said it himself in Confessional. I've been nominated for James Beard Awards, blah blah blah. And Bailey on the other side of that, none of that, right? And she's a little bit younger with a little less experience. So on paper, it is David versus Goliath, but.
Yeah.
I think Zubair in his head, he's coming right off of being on the bottom and right off of losing. Do you think that was a little bit in his head a little bit? Just kind of like he took a little gut punch of confidence there coming. He didn't have a day I don't know how quickly they filmed these LCK episodes. This one obviously was right after, but he didn't have time to kind of like gather himself. He was just there.
No, I think like the immediate cook off. I mean, also think about the fact that like that was a night cook. Like they did that at night. You know what I mean? Like you can tell that like they did that all day. They're at judge's table. He's sitting in there. He knows he's on the bottom. He's stewing about it. He comes back. He's walking in. He's walking out. He's walking in. He's walking out. Like there's just like so many things that we don't even see. And now you're cooking again. Like it's just like it mentally sucks. I would not want to be put in that position, but like you just got to make the best of it. Like it's one of those things where it's like, is that even fair? But at the end of the day, like you're lucky that you have Last Chance Kitchen. Like you're lucky they created a program where people can get back on. So you're at a position where it's like, I just need to do everything I can. It doesn't matter if it's all uphill at this point. I just have to keep cooking. And I think that you could see that.
Yeah, I kind of felt bad for Zubair in this situation because he's coming in from an all-day cook and judging, and Bailey's coming in with fresh legs, right? She's coming off the bench with fresh legs. She hadn't had to do an all-day cook. The first time she's cooking today for or whatever. Yeah. So she's like, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, and Zubair's coming in just being scolded like a dog about his overcooked duck, and then he's like tired, right? He's got to be tired. So I think he came in with a disadvantage, even though on paper he seemed to be the better chef, but he just couldn't get it in gear for this one either. And it was a 2-parter. So there's two-part LCK. So the challenge was to make a sweet and savory dish incorporating at least 3 of the same ingredients in both dishes. It was I had to kind of rewind it because the rules were a little convoluted, but you had 1 hour on the clock and you have to present the first savory dish at the 30-minute mark. And if it's not up to snuff, you have to remake it and present it again before they present their second dish before the end of the hour. So it took me a couple of tries to understand what was going on there. Yeah, I was like, what? I don't understand. So, but Bailey was really smart about it. She put in a panna cotta and like made it and then put it into set for the whole hour. Do you think that was a really smart decision there?
Genius.
Yeah.
I think that the way that he's like, oh, we have 2 different approaches here. I think I would have done Bailey's approach as well. there's a like, there's a 50% chance that I'm going to have to remake my savory course. I already know that, right? So I cannot leave anything up to chance as far as like giving myself 10 minutes to make a dessert that's going to ultimately make me or break me. So I just think, knowing that, I would make sure that something is started and that I'm giving myself leeway. Like, you want to put up the best dish that you can, but you can never guarantee like, oh, if everybody could just wake up and be like, I'm just going to make the best dish today, then it wouldn't be, we wouldn't have a show, So
Yeah.
I think that like her saying like, realistically, I could have to do this again. I need this to fall back on. The only time I can do this is right now. It's a great blank slate, a panna cotta. It's really easy to put savory influence on a dairy fat based dessert that soaks up those flavors. I thought it was genius. It's exactly what I hoped I would have done in that moment.
Yeah. I mean, and that's an example of coming in with a fresh brain, right? And thinking, as opposed to Zubair, he immediately thinks, I got to cook 2 dishes, right? And you are cooking 2 dishes, but he's not thinking about, okay, I need to cook something that can kind of set it and forget it, while I may have to remake my first dish, which he ended up having to remake.
Don't have to make a cake in 10 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah, right. I don't know what he was thinking. It's like, oh, I can make a cake in 15 minutes. There ain't no way. Or 30 minutes. There's no way. Ended up making French toast. So he had a good scallop dish. He had to remake his mushrooms because they weren't crispy enough. He even knew that coming in. If you knew that your mushrooms weren't up to snuff and you were going to probably have to remake those, would you have just remade them and then presented it? Or would you have took your chance like he did and let Tom tell you, yeah, you got to remake the mushrooms?
I mean, considering the fact that mushrooms weren't a star, his issue was that he didn't choose 3 ingredients, in my opinion. Like, he didn't choose, okay, before I do anything, what are my 3 ingredients, right? Or run to the pantry, 1, 2, 3, bam, I made my choice. So he is having to then tie all these loose strings together. The mushrooms, if I'm correct, weren't a part of the dessert. So you're not being forced into that. Like, Tom didn't say, give me a starch, give me a protein, give me a veg. He said, just give me a savory dish. And so I think if you were having that thought, also, if I'm being completely honest, we don't know. We don't know if he even knew that. He says now in the confessional, I knew they were a little bit crispy. But that's because when he's filming a confessional, Tom already told him they were a little bit crispy, So, or they needed to be. So who knows? Maybe he thought, this is great. I like the texture of this. This is my preference. And he put it on the plate. Either or, they didn't need to be there, and maybe he wouldn't have had to make it again if he didn't put it on in the first place.
Yeah.
Like, just remove it.
Yeah. That's right. Just take it out. So the first dish he has to remake. Bailey wins that first round with her pork dish. Looked good. Then dessert is served. I found it interesting the way they describe panna cotta, which I've never heard of before, that it should be as jiggly as a And Bailey's like, those crazy Italians. So she is funny. So Zubair makes a fancy French toast, and Bailey presents her kind of less than jiggly than she would have liked panna cotta. But the flavor was there, and Zubair's French toast wasn't as good as Bailey's less jiggly panna cotta. So Bailey's back, baby. So
Bailey's back, baby.
Bailey's
BBB.
back. Yep. So Zubair gets eliminated for real this time. But Bailey, proud of her. Like, she killed it in in LCK. She's coming back with immunity, mind you. So she's coming back with immunity, which is good because, you hate to see a chef come back from Last Chance Kitchen only to be immediately eliminated the very next challenge. That would suck. So at least she gets a chance to kind of get her head back in the game a little bit for the main competition, as opposed to these series of short cooks. I just found myself rooting for each LCK. Like, go Bailey.
Yeah.
And she's really found herself. She learned a lot about herself during this time.
Yeah.
What'd you think?
I mean, obviously, I feel like I can relate to this.
Yeah.
So just on that note alone, like, not the LCK, like, comeback story, and like, she's gonna have it's gonna be great watching her walk in and surprise everybody. Like, I feel like has a lot of expressions, on her face, and so she's gonna be like coming in. That'll be silly, but I feel like I'm rooting for the underdog, and that's how I felt. At least she specifically says, like, I don't have these accolades, etc., whatever. But like, girl smart.
Yeah, one thing she was saying in her confessional, like what you just said, I don't have all these accolades these other chefs have, but I deserve to be here. And that's the mindset I think you got to have. And she did remind me a lot of you in your season, because in your first episode of your season is like, who's won a James Beard Award? Who's worked in Michelin restaurants? And you were the only one that didn't, raise your hand to any of those questions. So immediately you kind of felt like, oh my God, I'm the underdog here.
I'm like, who's got a cute Dickies jumpsuit on and a good attitude? Ooh, this girl.
Yeah, right. So Bailey kind of reminded me of you in that sense. Like she's like, I don't have any of this going on my resume, but I deserve to be here, and good for her. And I'm really rooting for her. I hope she makes it through. I don't want to see any more risottos coming out of her.
I don't think we will.
I don't think we will. And it's cook to what you know. So as long as she does those two things, I think she's going to be fantastic. But yeah, overall, great episode. Great episode. I thought this was a quintessential Top Chef episode all the way around. A fun quick fire, a very Top Chef-y elimination challenge, and the roller coaster.
Did we announce the winner?
Oh, we did not. Yeah, wait. Tristan.
I know. Oh, I know that, but I think that we were talking about Zubair, and then we went right to LCK. Right?
Oh, that's right. Yeah. No, Bailey won. Sorry.
Yeah. Wait. So I just to give Tristan his moment, you know what I mean? I think
Tristan,
I feel like he listens, so
Tristan, I'm so sorry. If I'm the off chance you're listening to my podcast, look, you're great, man. I love you. So
no, I think it's a compliment because we're like, oh yeah, Tristan won, he killed it again. Sorry, we need to talk about something else.
Yeah, we gotta move on. We gotta wrap this up now. But no, Tristan, get your flowers, man. I picked you on my team for a reason. You're cooking with a ton of flavor. You're cooking with a ton of heart, and I love it. So if you're listening, give me a thumbs up or give me a review or something on my podcast. That'd be great.
Hell yeah.
So let's go with the draft update. I got to tell you, I killed you in this episode. I killed you hard. So don't do the points. No. I literally had all the points on my team. So Corwin Hemming got a quick fire win for 5 points and top of the judge table for 3 points. So a total of 8 points for my team. Kat Turner was top of the judges table for 3 points on my team. Shuai Wang was the only one that got negative points. He was bottom of the judges table for negative 2 points. Tristan Epps gets the elimination win for 7 points. So that gives me 16 total points. The only points you got was Henry was on the bottom of the judges table for -2, and Zubair was on the bottom of the judges table for -2. So you walk away with a -4 on your episode. I get 16, and in the scope of one episode, I tie this game up 44 to 44.
Up.
It is a ball game, folks.
All right. It's time to get serious. I need to talk to my team.
We talked about trades.
We're doing pay cuts over here.
So I have tied this thing up after falling way behind in the first 3 episodes, but it is a tie game so far through 4 episodes. It is 44 to 44, and we got a long way to go. But I'm glad my team really stepped it up this episode and killed it. And the way Tristan and Corwin's cooking, I'm expecting some sweeps coming up on my team. So.
Well, I hope you really enjoyed this last little hoorah that you just had, because just wait.
You're coming for me? Was that what you're saying?
I am.
Well, I think we did it. I think we covered episode 4. Great episode. Had a great time. Looking forward to next episode. I saw the sneak peek. Looks like we're going to have a double elimination next week, if I heard that correctly.
Scary
Double,
stuff. Toil and trouble. Yeah.
So that could potentially put 3 people back into LCK, assuming Zubair continues to cook. I think I remember in last season, if you didn't make that first cut, like you were out. Like, so let's see what happens. I don't know if Zubair is going to be that third chef with a double elimination, but next week's episode looks exciting. Looking forward to it.
They have those like YouTube contracts probably. They're like, we need more LCK content. Get 2 of them out of the kitchen now.
I mean, it won an Emmy for a reason. So let's go.
Yeah.
So
I'm excited. So we'll have to see what happens.
I know. Awesome. Well, Chef Savannah, where can people find you online? Keep up with what's going on with your life?
Yeah, you can follow me on Instagram at SavvySav, SAVVY, and I am actually next week when we talk, I'll be doing it from Chicago, which I will be in for a few hours before taking the train to Milwaukee. So that'll be exciting. I'm actually participating in Dim Sum Give Some, which is a big event for charity for raising money for Kennedy's disease. So we are working with Dan. This is something that he's done for multiple years, but he's bringing in essentially like almost all of our cast. It's a huge group of people, and it's going to be like our reunion. There's there's chatter about getting tattoos, maybe, you know, it could get a little crazy. But I'll just be on the beginning of that when we chat next week. So maybe 2 weeks from now, I'll give you all the crazy fun stories.
Oh, that'd be awesome. I look forward to seeing that.
Yeah.
I'll put a link to I'm sure there's a fundraising site, right, for this?
Yes, so I believe that the tickets are completely sold out, but you can still donate from the link, which is going to be, you know, I think it's on Dan's Instagram, but also if you just search Dim Sum Give Some.
Yeah, I'll Google it. I'll put the link in the description, show description notes. So for those looking to donate, feel free to donate there. So looking forward to that. Yeah, looking forward to seeing your stories next week. Chef Savannah, again, awesome to have you on this week. It was a fun episode, fun talking about it with you.
Yes, sir. I will see you next week.